You think you're funny, do you?
So I asked myself, I said, you ever wondered why they call it a foot? If I have to measure something to figure out how long something is, I'm going to use a ruler. Depending on the size of the thing that I am going to measure, I might want to measure it in inches or feet or even yards. Once we get into distances and lengths that are even longer, I might have to go to miles. But how did we start with a foot? Turns out that King Henry I had a foot about the same length that we decided would be 1 foot. We divided that into 12 inches for smaller things that we had to measure. The important thing to realize is that you have to agree on a standard unit of length for whatever it is you're going to measure. If you have to figure out how much something weighs, you might use ounces and pounds. If you have to figure out how much something can hold, depending on what that is, you might use cups and pints and quarts and gallons, or you might actually use ounces for fluid ounces. It can get a little bit tricky. So the important thing that we have to remember is that standard units of measure are things that we agree on in order to figure out the size, shape, temperature of all the things that we use and enjoy in our life to stay alive and to also have a little bit of fun. So this Unit 6 talks about how we measure things, and let's get started. So the first question asks, how long is the pencil? It's between 0 and 6 inches, which is half a foot. I can tell that each of those whole inches is broken into 4 parts. So I'm going to label the ruler before I begin actually measuring the pencil. And here we are. We can see that the pencil starts at 0. The eraser is right up next to the 0. And the point of the pencil is right at 1/4. It's 1/4 more than 5. And that means the length of the pencil is 5 1/4 inches. So the second problem now that we have to look at has to deal with pencils that are also measured in inches. And we're supposed to use that data to create a line plot. So a line plot's just like a number line. You can see that we're given 10 pieces of data. And that's important to know because I'm going to record each one of those pieces of data on the number line. So you can see that there are, again, 4 parts between each whole number. And I want to make sure that I label my line plot before I start to actually try to place X's where all the data is. So the first piece of data I want to find is 3 2/4. It's just 2/4 after 3. I put an X there. I make sure to cross it off so I don't list it a second time. The second piece of data is 2 1/2, but I have actually labeled my number lines with 2 2/4. So I'm going to go ahead and change each 2/4 to 1/2 since they are equivalent fractions, and it's easier for me to find the points on the line. So 2 3/4 is 3/4 past 2. 4 1/4, 1/4 more than 4. 3 1/2, 1/2 more than 3. And you can see since this is the second piece of data that's 3 1/2, it's now on top of it, so that just by looking at the data, looking at the graphic organizer, I can find out exactly what's going on. How are these different pieces of data distributed, and about how long are all 10 pencils? It's really important to check that you have 10 X's, 1 for each piece of data. Here, I want to figure out which piece of fruit weighs about 1 kilogram. Now, a kilogram is a significant weight, and I know that 1 kilogram or 1 kg is the same as 1,000 grams. This means that there are going to be some examples here that are pretty small. They're all one of each of the items. And I know that a blueberry, for instance, is very small. It's not a kilogram. One grape just as tiny, a raspberry the same. One pineapple is 1 kilogram. Second problem asks me to find 2 items that weigh about 1 gram each. In order for me to figure out which of those is reasonably 1 gram, I'm going to try and eliminate the things that seem ridiculous. Unfortunately for me, they're all relatively small. A piece of gum, a notebook I know is much heavier than a piece of gum. I'm going to eliminate that one. A door key, a pen cap, and a toothbrush. Well, a toothbrush is heavier. So now I have 3 things that I have to decide. Which 2 of them are about 1 gram? I think a door key is the heaviest one here. So I'm going to eliminate that one, leaving A, a piece of gum, and D, a pen cap, to weigh about 1 gram. Now I have to choose which of the containers show 3 1/2 liters of water. Now I'm into capacity. The first one shows the water line halfway between 3 and 4. That's 3 1/2. The second choice, I've got it divided into 4 parts. It's 3 2/4, which is 3 1/2. That one is also 3 1/2. This water level is between 2 and 3. I know it's not 3 1/2. The next one is halfway between 2 and 4. Well, halfway between 2 and 4 is 3. That's not 3 1/2. This one is exactly 3 liters of water. The capacity is not 3 1/2 either. The 2 choices that make sense are choice A and choice C. So here I have a clock at 11:49. That's what I have to show. I'm going to mark my clock with my anchor points, 15, 30, 45, and 60. I'm going to look for 49, which is 1 minute less than 50. And then I'm going to draw my longhand to show that it's exactly 11:49. Now I have to pay attention to the hour. Because it's 11:49, that's close to 60. I'm going to estimate here that it's almost at the 12. The next problem that we're going to deal with has to deal with Tyler. He's in line for a roller coaster. He entered the line at 9:35, but he didn't get on until 10:19. The question is, how long did he wait? If you've ever been to Disney, you know that Tyler did not have to wait that long. So from 9:35 until 10 o'clock, in order to figure that out, I'm going to subtract 35 from 60, which gets me 25 minutes. I could have counted up from 25 to 60, from 35 to 60 to get 25 minutes. And of course, from 10 o'clock to 10:19 is 19 minutes. What I need to do is get the sum of those 2 time intervals, which is 44 minutes, and that's how long Tyler waited in line. Hope he enjoyed the roller coaster. So we have a tape diagram that I'm supposed to match up with one of the 4 situations. The tape diagram shows me 7 groups of 2, equaling 14. 14 liters is what the entire tape diagram shows. In choice A, I've got 2 bottles of water, each with 7 liters. This makes me think 2 times 7 equals 14 liters. That's not what the tape diagram shows. Choice B, Han has 14 liters of water in 7 bottles. That makes me think of dividing 14 by 7, which gets 2 liters of water in each bottle. That does not show what's in the tape diagram. I will eliminate choice B. In C, Claire has 7 bottles of water and Jada has 2 bottles. The question is, how many bottles do they have altogether? Well, 7 plus 2 equals 9 bottles. That is not what's in the tape diagram. Let's go to choice D. There are 7 bottles of water. Each bottle has 9 liters of water. The question is, how many liters are there altogether? This makes me multiply 7 by 2 to get a capacity of 14 liters. And thank goodness, that's exactly what the tape diagram shows. So in this situation here, I've got a farmer with 96 kilograms of apples that he picks in one day. He puts 8 boxes and packs all of the apples into those 8 boxes. How many kilograms of apples in each box? Being a good math student, I'm going to use a tape diagram, a model, to figure out how many kilograms of apples go in each of the 8 boxes. So being that I don't know my answer, I'm going to pass out 10 kilograms into each box. This means I have passed out 80 kilograms. I'm going to go ahead and put another 2 in each, which gives me 16 kilograms more. I've passed out all 96 kilograms of my apples, and in each of my boxes, I have a sum of 12 kilograms of apples. This lets me know that 8 groups of 12 give me a total of 96 kilograms. The farmer who picked 96 kilograms in one day as a busy man or woman put 12 kilograms of apples in each of the boxes. And so I hope that you can appreciate, even with dividing large numbers, if you just pass out the amount that's correct, that you believe you can, until you've passed out all of the boxes, all of the apples, or whatever the whole is, whatever the dividend is, you'll be able to find out exactly what the correct quotient is, what the equal group is that goes into each of the boxes that the divisor tells you have, which in this case was 12 kilograms in 8 boxes. So I think that the most important thing for you to remember is that you agree on a standard unit of measure in order to communicate. And what you're going to do once you've done that is carefully make sure that you use the right unit that makes sense for each of the situations that you're dealing with. So I hope that this makes a little bit of a difference for you, and you can get about the business of being your best self by using units of measure correctly. Thank you. Good luck.
Everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George. I hop in the Porsche, 5 and a horse. I'm ready for war. I'm coming for throats to turn to a ghost. I need to know everything.